In this video, we explore jaw-dropping moments with shocking and intense outbursts that made headlines. We have illegal items finding their way into courtrooms. We have kisses, bizarre kisses. We have this. Stay tuned for the wildest outbursts in rappers' trials. Young Thug. Rapper Young Thug, whose real name is Jeffrey Lamar Williams, was arrested on May 9, 2022. He was charged with conspiring to break the state's racketeer-influenced and corrupt organizations, RICO Act, and taking part in criminal street gang activity on separate counts. In a dramatic turn of events, Young Thug's recent court hearing unfolded with an assertive flair, capturing the attention of the public. The scene was set on a Thursday morning, December 15, 2022. This was Young Thug's first in-person court appearance since his arrest. The purpose of this appearance was to deliberate on a crucial matter, the suppression of evidence stemming from a 2015 arrest, a legal chess move orchestrated by his adept attorney. Anticipation hung heavy in the air as the scheduled 9 a.m. commencement of the hearing was thwarted by unforeseen technical glitches. The courtroom's digital domain, a Zoom feed, bore witness to an unexpected spectacle, the intrusion of an explicit video that momentarily hijacked the proceedings. With a swift response, court personnel raced to expunge the explicit interruption, bearing the plea "Free Young Thug." The situation subsided, allowing the legal proceedings to resume in earnest. Young Thug's resolute attorney, Brian Steele, stepped into the spotlight to argue against the admissibility of evidence from the 2015 incident in the impending RICO trial. However, the appearance of an explicit video was not the only bizarre interruption the case would have. A body cam footage taken in the court would reveal the next outburst. A central figure in the trial, Rodelius Ryan, known by his alias Lil Rod, stood at the center of an unexpected maelstrom. The Fulton County Sheriff's Office, invoking concerns over marijuana, sent Ryan out of the courtroom. His reluctance to undergo the mandatory search in alignment with safety protocols caused the situation. A deputy with a camera was there when Ryan was taken to another room. Apparently, it smelled like someone had been smoking marijuana, so they decided to do a more thorough search. Ryan didn't want to, but he eventually took off his clothes and the things he had with him. He really believed he hadn't done anything wrong. The situation got more intense as the deputy, and Ryan had a hard time agreeing. The deputy wanted Ryan to cooperate, but they couldn't find common ground. Things got even more heated when the deputy put handcuffs on Ryan, who loudly protested. It was like a wave of confusion and noise that went back and forth, and it ended with Ryan being calmed down and controlled. After all the chaos, they found something in his underwear. Small hidden bags with something inside that they couldn't figure out. Legal counsel Suri Chada Jimenez, an observer amidst the chaos, recounted the disarray that ensued, narrating the stark transition from composed courtroom proceedings to a scene of tumultuous confrontation. The situation got intense, and the deputies from Fulton County had to step in. They had no choice but to evacuate the courtroom, putting a pause on the trial. The next situation would involve Young Thug himself. In this case, there were claims of drugs being passed around in the courtroom. According to papers from the court that ABC News got, the prosecutors are saying that Young Thug and another person named Caliph Adams were involved in a drug exchange right there in the courtroom on January 18, 2023. This disrupted the jury selection process and delayed the trial. Both of them were defendants in the trial. Young Thug's lawyer, Brian Steele, said that his client didn't know what was happening when Adams came up to him and handed him something. The prosecutors are saying it was a pill called Percocet, which is a strong pain medicine. Steele argued that this incident was blown out of proportion to make Young Thug look bad in the media and to influence the jury against him. The prosecutors said that Young Thug tried to hide the pill, but his lawyers denied that claim. According to Brian Steele, Young Thug thought Adams was just offering a handshake. There's a video from the courtroom that seems to show Adams giving something to Young Thug and then Young Thug giving it to a security guard. The prosecutors say that more illegal stuff was found when they searched Adams later, drugs like Percocet and marijuana. After this happened, Adams was taken to the hospital because it looked like he had swallowed more illegal things to hide them. Adams' lawyer says he was taken to the hospital because he was repeatedly tased by the officers. About a month after Young Thug got caught up in the case, he made a request from jail. He asked people to sign a petition called Protect Black Art. He also talked about how he uses his music to express himself, but he thinks black artists like him don't have the same freedom. He also talked about his love for his fans. The Protect Black Art petition was written by Kevin Liles, who helped Young Thug in his music career, and Julie Greenwald. They want lawmakers to make rules that stop rap lyrics from being used as evidence in court cases. The case said that Young Thug's group, called Young Stoner Life or YSL, was a gang involved in criminal activities. They used things like lyrics, social media posts, and clothing with a certain word on it as proof. Some people were even charged with violent crimes like robbery and murder. This case came at a time when crime was going up in Atlanta, and many people in the hip-hop world felt that rappers were being unfairly linked to crimes through their music. After being in jail for about 7 months, rapper Gunna was released on December 14, 2022. Even though he pleaded pled guilty to the charges against him, he claimed he didn't commit the crimes he was accused of. This was possible thanks to the offered plea, a plea deal that let him maintain his innocence after pleading guilty. He got a shorter sentence and community service. Some other people also took plea deals and were released, but young Thug was still in jail. Tory Lanez.
I just stood here in this Los Angeles County and witnessed the worst miscarriage of justice that this world has ever seen.
Tory Lanez's dad, Sunstar Peterson, and his stepmom got kicked out of the courtroom after Tory was found guilty in a case about the 2020 shooting of his ex-girlfriend, Megan Thee Stallion. After the verdict, Peterson got really upset. He shouted at the prosecutors, calling them evil and part of a bad system. He accused Jay-Z and Roc Nation of being part of what happened to his son. Outside the courthouse, he kept talking about how unfair he thought the trial was. He blamed Megan's lawyer, Alex Spiro, Roc Nation's COO, Desiree Perez, and Jay-Z. He said they were all part of a bad system that went against his son. He also noted that Megan is signed to Roc Nation. He claimed there was evidence that didn't get shown in court and said he wasn't just speaking up because he's a father, but because he cares about justice. Peterson even talked directly to Jay-Z and accused him of plotting against Tory Lanez. He called Desiree Perez a snitch and said Roc Nation will fall apart. Peterson also made it clear that he doesn't think the case is finished. He believes in a higher power and said that this court system is more about winning and losing than it is about fairness. Megan Thee Stallion said Lanez shot her in the foot in July 2020. Lanez, who could face up to 18 years in jail, didn't show any feelings when they announced the verdict in December 2022. His dad was really angry outside the court and called the verdict the worst injustice ever. His dad and his wife, who also yelled that Beyonce was part of it, spoke out against what they thought was unfair. His dad said he saw a lot of evidence that was hidden. He wanted everyone to stand up against this, saying that sons are being treated unfairly in the country. His stepmom also yelled at Beyonce and Jay-Z, saying they have kids too and that they should be careful about sending people to jail. When the verdict was announced, his dad pointed at the judge and jury and shouted that it was evil. Other people also shouted, and the police had to step in to calm things down. Some of the women who support him started crying when he was found guilty. His stepmom shouted that they love him as he was taken away in handcuffs. After taking about a day and a half to decide, the jury of 7 women and 5 men in Los Angeles found Lanez guilty of 3 serious crimes: assault with a semi-automatic firearm, shooting a firearm in a grossly negligent manner, and carrying a concealed firearm in a vehicle. The sentence for assault is up to 9 years in prison. The sentence for careless gun use is up to 3 years, and the sentence for carrying a concealed weapon is up to 3 years. However, the assault and negligent shooting charges carry increased penalties that could add up to 6 years to his sentence because the jury also decided that Lanez inflicted great bodily injury. Megan had to have 3 bullet pieces surgically removed from her foot. Tory Lanez, whose real name is Daystar Peterson, could be facing potential deportation back to Canada despite his not guilty plea. In her testimony, Megan recounted a distressing incident. She revealed that after attending a pool party with Lanez at Kylie Jenner's house in July 2020, they got into an argument while in his SUV with Megan's friend Kelsey Harris. Megan exited the car, and Lanez allegedly shot her feet 5 times, causing severe injuries that required surgery. Megan also claimed Lanez offered her and Harris money to keep quiet about the incident. According to her, Lanez later apologized, claiming that he was drunk. The jury rejected the defense's claim that Harris was the one who fired the gun out of jealousy. They claimed Harris was also in a relationship with Lanez. Deputy District Attorney Alexander Bott stated in closing arguments, "This is a case about a guy who shot a girl, then apologized for it." Megan disclosed her emotional turmoil, revealing feelings of suicidal thoughts and torture after the incident. She faced online abuse from Lanez's supporters, which deeply affected her mental state. Following the incident, Lanez supporters claimed online that Megan had not sustained any injuries. However, testimony from Dr. Lee Haruno, the chief resident at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center's orthopedic surgery department, refuted this. He revealed that fragments of the bullet had been extracted from Megan's feet. Lanez's lawyer, George Mazdessian, accused the prosecution of attempting to tarnish his client's reputation. He criticized their portrayal of Lanez as a negative figure due to his background as a black man and a hip-hop artist. Mazdessian argued, "They are asking you to jump to a conclusion, to prosecute a black man. The story fits better if it's a black man shooting a black woman, but Kelsey is the one who shot her friend." Mazdessian questioned why the case's lead investigator only collected Lanez's DNA and not that of the other car occupants. He said, "Because he's the celebrity. He's Tory Lanez." Expanding on his point, he questioned the credibility of Megan and Kelsey, both involved in the incident. "Why would Megan lie?" Mazdessian queried. "Megan and Tory are both artists. What's more newsworthy, you got shot by Kelsey Harris or you got shot by Tory Lanez? Megan has an image. She's Megan Thee Stallion. Kelsey found out her best friend was cheating with her man and she shot her. How would that look for Megan Thee Stallion?" Megdessian also drew the jury's attention to Sean Kelly's testimony, where he observed Kelsey disengaging from the situation with Megan and returning to the SUV just before the gunfire erupted. Megdessian pointed out, the evidence is pretty clear that the gun was in Kelsey's bag. With conviction, he dismissed the prosecution's case as full of holes and argued, my client did not willfully talk the gun and fire the gun. That's why his DNA is not on the gun. There is no evidence that my client shot a firearm. My client was holding Kelsey's hand to try to stop her from shooting Megan. He was trying to save Megan. Deputy District Attorney Kathy Ta countered the defense's narrative by emphasizing that the trial centered on Lanes' actions, not Megan's. Dismissing the notion of romantic rivalry, Ta told the court it is the defendant who is on trial, not Megan. She attributed Lanes' actions to wounded pride, provoked by Megan's greater success as a rapper. Ta stated, she was disrespecting him as a rapper and that pissed him off. How dare she have the audacity to disrespect him, then get out of the car and walk away from him? So he reasserted his dominance. YNW Melly. Hip-hop artist YNW Melly, whose real name is Jamel Maurice Demons, was arrested and accused of 2 charges of first-degree murder in February 2019. The rapper and another rapper, YNW Bortman, allegedly killed 2 of their friends and staged the crime scene to resemble a drive-by shooting, according to the police. YNW Melly went on trial in Florida in June 2023 and maintained his innocence throughout. A guilty verdict could mean a death sentence. Like the other cases on our list, Melly's trial had its fair share of drama. In court, YNW Melly blew a kiss, which angered the mother of the victim. On the 3rd day of his double murder trial, the Florida rapper closed his eyes and prayed. Then he said something before opening his eyes and blowing a kiss to the people in the audience. Leandra Phillips, the mother of Christopher Phillips, one of the victims, found this action disrespectful. She talked to NBC Miami, revealing that this wasn't the first time he had done this during the trial. He did it a couple times. That wasn't his first time. Leandra told the outlet, I walked out because I don't. What you praying for? You sitting there like you ain't got no remorse. Like every time I walk in, you smiling. This ain't the time for that. This is sad. This case is serious. Chris's aunt, Ashley Phillips, also shared her thoughts about her nephew's relationship with Melly. She emphasized that they had trust in Melly and had seen him grow up around their family in Florida. This is somebody that we knew. It's somebody that we loved. It's somebody that we trusted. Like we watched grow up, Ashley said. So this is a sad case. This is tragic. So we just praying for justice. In another instance, on June 14, 2023, as the courtroom began emptying out, YNW Melly exchanged a smile with an individual in the gallery. However, his demeanor swiftly shifted to agitation as he repeatedly mouthed something to them. Within moments, his focus turned to his lawyer, displaying visible signs of anger and frustration. Then came the scene between Melly's lawyer and the judge about evidence the prosecutors sought to use against Melly.
Here we're talking about the state coming to say he went left, and he moved in this direction 70 steps, and then he went 100 steps to that direction and 1,000 in the other direction. Clearly, the risk of inaccuracy is amplified in that type of situation.
The prosecution built its case against YNW Melly using cell phone data and surveillance footage. They claimed this evidence proved his presence at the crime scene and his role in the murders. Phone pedometer records, GPS data, and tower pings were used to track his movements before and after the incident. However, the defense raised concerns about the reliability of this cell phone data. They argued that tower pings and GPS data might not always accurately pinpoint locations, especially in busy urban areas. They also suggested YNW Melly's phone could have been used by someone else, as it was shared among him and his friends. To support their argument of communal phone usage, the defense presented evidence showing the phone was linked to another person's name. Attorney David Howard emphasized that phone belongs to someone other than Jamel Demons. Their own witness admitted that this phone, Mr. Williams' phone, and others were all part of the same account, used interchangeably by everyone in the house. This evidence added weight to the defense's stance that multiple individuals had access to the phone, casting doubt on YNW Melly's direct involvement in the crimes. In July 2023, the YNW Melly double murder case concluded with a mistrial due to the jury's inability to reach a unanimous decision after 3 days of deadlock. Broward Circuit Court Judge John J. Murphy III requested jurors to deliberate on 2 occasions, but a unanimous conclusion remained elusive. Consequently, a mistrial was declared, leaving YNW Melly proven neither guilty nor innocent. The prosecution could opt for a new trial within 90 days. Judge Murphy expressed gratitude to the jurors for their dedication and acknowledged the challenging nature of their task. YNW Melly's trial, commencing in mid-June and streamed on Law and Crime Network's YouTube channel, spanned nearly 4.5 years since his arrest. Throughout the proceedings, the rapper exhibited a casual demeanor. Prosecutors asserted that YNW Melly murdered Williams and Thomas in a car, post their time at a recording studio, later leaving their bodies at a hospital, citing a drive-by shooting. Witnesses included included Felicia Holmes, whose daughter dated YNW Melly during the incident. She claimed she was intimidated to testify, prompting Melly's lawyer to file for a mistrial, but the motion for a mistrial was denied on that occasion. Other prosecution witnesses encompassed a crime lab analyst, firearms expert, crime scene supervisor, and an undercover detective specialized in gangs. Mark Moretti, the lead detective in the murder investigation, was a key witness for the prosecution. He spent days on the stand reviewing messages and posts linked to YNW Melly. A crucial piece of evidence was an Instagram message where Melly allegedly wrote, "I did that," seen as a possible confession. One of Melly's lawyers argued Melly usually spelled that, using DAT instead. However, the prosecution showed instances of Melly using the correct spelling of the word. The prosecution concluded its case on July 17, 2023. The defense called YNW Melly's friend, Adrian Green, as their sole witness the next day. YNW Melly didn't testify in his defense. XXX Tentacion. The case of YMW Melly isn't the only one on our list showing defendants with a knack for blowing kisses. In Fort Lauderdale, Florida, the killer of XXX Tentacion was seen smiling and blowing a kiss in court after being found guilty of first-degree murder and armed robbery, almost 5 years after the rapper's death. Michael Boatwright, age 28, who is believed to have fired the fatal shots, was caught on camera conversing with his lawyer, followed by a kiss gesture towards the camera. The identity of the intended recipient of the kiss remains uncertain. The conclusion of the murder trial brought a dramatic moment as Boatwright displayed an unexpected reaction to the guilty verdict. XXX's mom, Cleopatra Bernard, was present for the trial. She believes the sentence given to the murderer was suitable as her son was only 20 when he was killed. Boatwright's trial antics upset her more, especially his kisses. She sarcastically wished him all the kisses he wanted in jail. She has a similar message for Newsom and Williams. Her anger toward them was not far off given the context surrounding the crime and its aftermath. XXX Tentacion, whose real name is Jose Onfroy, was murdered on the 18th of June 2018. 2 days later, 22-year-old Dedrick Devonshea Williams was arrested in connection to the crime. Williams faced charges of dangerous and depraved first-degree murder, robbery with a firearm, and driving without a valid license. Subsequent arrests followed Robert Allen, 22 years old, Michael Boatwright, 22 years old, and Trayvon Newsom, 20 years old. They were charged with premeditated first-degree murder and robbery with a firearm, all later indicted by a grand jury for premeditated murder. In August 2022, Robert Allen, initially charged with premeditated murder and robbery, pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and robbery as part of a plea deal to testify against Boatwright, Newsom, and Williams. He was sentenced to 7 years in prison in May 2023. The trial of Michael Boatwright, Trayvon Newsom, and Dedrick Williams began on February 7, 2023, nearly 5 years after XXX Tentacion's death. During the trial's opening statements, the prosecution, represented by Pascal Achille, outlined their case. They claimed that the defendants, along with Allen, targeted and trapped XXX Tentacion, stole from him, and fatally shot him. The prosecution emphasized surveillance video and other evidence to support their claims. Defense attorneys tried to prove the defendant's innocence. Michael Boatwright's lawyer, Joseph Kimmock, argued his innocence, claiming that the evidence against him was not conclusive. George Raris, representing Newsom, asserted that his client was not present at the crime scene. Mauricio Padilla, representing Williams, criticized the investigation for not considering the involvement of rapper Drake, with whom XXX Tentacion had feuded. During the trial, key witnesses provided crucial insights into the events surrounding the murder. XXX Tentacion's step-uncle, Leonard Kerr, recounted being in the vehicle with XXX Tentacion during the confrontation, testifying that he fled the car to survive. Robert Allen, who pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and robbery, testified against the other defendants on the second day of the trial. Allen confirmed the prosecution's account of the murder. He detailed how they tracked Onfroy, aka XXX Tentacion. The defendants planned the crime and carried out the robbery and fatal shooting. Allen's testimony contradicted Boatwright's attorney's defense, showing Boatwright's search for accessory to murder stemmed from misleading information. Tanel Carter, Dedrick Williams' former girlfriend, testified that Williams confessed to orchestrating the crime and attempted to manipulate her testimony. Carter refuted the defense's theories involving the rapper Drake. Forensic DNA analyst Nicole Inat provided scientific evidence linking the defendants to the crime scene, emphasizing rare DNA matches. During the trial, allegations of witness intimidation arose against Trayvon Newsom, who was accused of attempting to influence a co-defendant's testimony. In the trial's final moments, both sides presented their closing arguments, aiming to sway the jury's decision. Lead prosecutor Pascal Achille summarized key evidence against the defendants, which included DNA evidence linking the defendants to the crime, a .22 caliber bullet found in Dedrick Williams' home home, connection of Michael Boatwright's phone's Bluetooth to the murder vehicle, tracking of Boatwright and Williams' phone locations to the murder site, and the discovery of a nearly full box of bullets at Boatwright's home, missing only 4, matching the shots fired at Onfroy. Achille portrayed the defendants as predators, guilty of first-degree murder and armed robbery. Mauricio Padilla, Williams' lawyer, questioned the witnesses' credibility. He criticized Onfroy's step-uncle, Leonard Kerr, and raised doubts about Uber and Lyft driving, citing Kerr's lifestyle. He also challenged the credibility of key witness Robert Allen, highlighting his appearance and tattoos. Padilla introduced debunked theories involving rapper Drake and even the rap group Migos. Joseph Kimmock, Boatwright's attorney, reiterated claims of a rushed investigation, questioning the reliability of evidence found weeks after the murder. He attempted to cast doubt on Robert Allen's credibility. In her response, Achille refuted defense arguments. She stressed that Allen's criminal history didn't invalidate his testimony. Achille noted Williams' own tattoos, countering the tattoo credibility argument. She explained delayed evidence discovery by Boatwright's attempt to flee to Georgia. As the trial concluded, the jury was left to weigh the opposing arguments and the presented evidence to determine the fate of the defendants. On March 20th, 2023, after almost 2 weeks of deliberation, all 3 defendants were found guilty of all charges. The unexpected length of deliberation sparked speculation of a hung jury. Michael Boatwright's disrespectful behavior during the guilty verdicts, including blowing a kiss, drew online backlash. Sentencing proceedings began on April 6, 2023. Solomon Sobande, XXX10 manager, spoke on behalf of the family. He expressed their pain and condemned the lack of remorse shown by the defendants. Judge Michael A. Usan addressed the family and fans before sentencing. He emphasized remembering Onfroy's positive impact and legacy. Trayvon Newsom and Dedrick Williams received life imprisonment without parole. Boatwright received 2 consecutive life sentences and an additional 30 years for other charges. Regarding Boatwright, Judge Usan conveyed the severe consequences of his actions, stating he ended multiple lives and condemned him to a life of isolation. On May 17, 2023, Robert Allen, the last defendant, was sentenced to 7 years in prison with credit for time served. He expressed genuine remorse and sought forgiveness. Daryl Mathboy Fly Brooks. On our list in this video, we've seen weird kisses and even the exchange of pills during trials. But when it comes to outbursts in the courtroom, the case of Mathboy Fly was the gift that kept on giving. And boy, did it give.
No, since he want to make a record and not be accurate, so let's be accurate on the record since you think you know so much.
In 2006, Mathboy Fly, whose real name is Daryl Brooks, was convicted for having consensual relations with a teenage girl in Nevada. The girl would give birth to his child. He pleaded guilty and got probation, but in 2016 was arrested for not registering as a molester. Despite bail, he evaded court and a warrant was issued. Brooks was non-compliant, failing to update his details in the Nevada Sex Offender Registry. Although believed to be in Wisconsin, his whereabouts remain unconfirmed since his 2016 arrest. When his status as a molester was brought up in his 2022 trial, he threw a tantrum, one of many in the case. On November 21st, 2021, Daryl E. Brooks Jr. drove an SUV through Waukesha, Wisconsin's annual Christmas parade. Tragically, 6 people lost their lives and 62 others were injured. Brooks denied responsibility, facing 6 counts of first-degree intentional homicide and 71 more charges. He even opted to be his own lawyer during the trial that started on October 3rd, 2022. Throughout the trial, Brooks used unorthodox legal arguments from the sovereign citizen movement. His behavior led to multiple ejections from the courtroom due to his lack of respect and courtesy. Day 2 of the trial saw a disruptive start and a tumultuous ending. The defendant's behavior led to his removal from the courtroom once again. At the beginning of the day, the accused repeatedly interrupted Judge Jennifer Doral with bizarre remarks about names and qualifications. He even questioned the judge's identity and refused to acknowledge his own name. The defendant, Brooks, also tried to have a whole group of jurors removed, but his request was denied. As a consequence of his disruptive conduct, he was relocated to an adjacent room and brought into the trial through Zoom. During the trial, Brooks declared himself to be sovereign, but he objected to being referred to as a sovereign citizen by Judge Doral. He insisted on his sovereign status, leading to more tension in the courtroom. The second day was just as chaotic as the first day of the trial. In these instances, Brooks's disruptive behavior caused the trial to stop several times and made it hard to keep potential jurors involved. Eventually, the district attorney asked Judge Doral to look at a decision from the highest court in the U.S. about how defendants should behave in court. As a result, Brooks was told to watch the trial from a different room. After being thrown out of court on multiple occasions, one would think a defendant would behave better, but Brooks.
Right, I need to take a break. This man right now is having a stare down with me. It's very disrespectful. He pounded his fist. Frankly, it makes me scared.
He angrily pounded the table with his fists and stared relentlessly at Judge Jennifer Doro. He did this right after she firmly stated that his accusations about the state coaching witnesses were completely false. Judge Jennifer Doro felt disrespected and even mentioned that she was frightened by Brooks's intense stare and aggressive behavior. This happened while the jury was not present, leading the judge to call for a break in the trial. The prosecution saw Brooks's disruptions and outbursts as attempts to disrupt and intimidate. The judge's actions in response to his outbursts were an attempt to manage his disruptive behavior. After some breaks, Brooks was allowed to return to the main courtroom. Darrell Brooks was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of extended supervision. Doro delivered the sentence after Brooks was found guilty on all 76 counts, which included 6 counts of first-degree intentional homicide. Each first-degree homicide count came with a separate life sentence without the chance of extended supervision. The sentences will be served consecutively. Among the victims were an 8-year-old boy, a grandmother, and a woman looking forward to her debut in the Dancing Grannies group. Additional sentences, totaling hundreds of years, were given for the other 70 counts. Brooks received 17.5 years for each of the 61 counts of first-degree recklessly endangering safety with a dangerous weapon. Addressing Brooks, Judge Doro stated, "You have absolutely no remorse for anything that you do. You have no empathy for anyone. Frankly, Mr. Brooks, no one is safe from you." Brooks spoke for over 2 hours, expressing his struggle to understand the tragedy. He said he wouldn't attack anyone aiming to take the high road, yet he criticized Waukesha County District Attorney Susan Opper, claiming she mishandled her role and that his crimes were not her concern. Brooks's grandmother, Mary Edwards, had hoped for a sincere and humble apology from Brooks. She extended her own apology to those deeply affected by her grandson's tragic actions. Brooks expressed remorse only once, explaining that his regret isn't always visible. "I want you to know not only am I sorry for what happened, I'm sorry that you could not see what's truly in my heart, that you cannot see the remorse that I have, that you cannot count all the tears that I have dropped in this year," he addressed the court. Although Brooks's family emphasized his mental state during the hearing, the judge concluded that mental health problems didn't compel him to drive into the crowd. Judge Doro cited assessments from 4 mental health evaluations, affirming that Brooks was aware of right and wrong. She underlined his lack of remorse and empathy. "Do the mentally ill sometimes commit atrocious crimes? They do. This is not one of those situations," Doro remarked. "There are many times, good people do bad things, but there are times when evil people do bad things. There is no medication or treatment for a heart that is bent on evil." Brooks has previously mentioned his intention to appeal his conviction. These untamed emotions and courtroom drama unfolded, showcasing a side of rappers rarely seen. Click the links on your screen for more videos like this.